$160 for a 15-degree down sleeping bag? It might be time to sleep on the back deck. What's going on, guys? I'm JK, and this is JK is Hiking, where I'm all about hiking, backpacking, and gear. And a couple weeks ago, I got contacted by a company called Easthills Outdoors, asking if I would be interested in testing and reviewing their new 650-degree down Bison sleeping bag. I figured I'd check it out online, see some of the specs on it, and give it a look-see before I said anything. And after looking at what I saw online, I decided this might be a sleeping bag worth checking out. So I contacted them, said, shoot me an email, let me know what I need to do to get my hands on this thing, and they sent me the sleeping bag. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen so far. It's a 15-degree temperature rating with a 50-degree comfort rating. One of the cool things about this bag is that it has a 4-inch draft baffle to help trap the warmth inside of the bag. There's one not only around the head but also around your neck. Both can be tightened up inside of the sleeping bag. There's also a pocket that you can put your pillow in so it doesn't move at night. There are a ton of great features about this. It's made with 650 down. The sleeping bag weighs in at around 2 pounds and 15 ounces. One of the reasons for the extra weight on the bag is that it's 650 down and not your 850 or 900 down that you're seeing in a lot of your higher end cottage quilts and sleeping bags. Because it's the lower down, that means each feather doesn't get the same amount of loft, which means that the insulation rating is actually a little lower, so they have to put more feathers actually into the sleeping bag to get the same temperature rating. Another great feature of this sleeping bag is that the outer shell is a 20D ripstop nylon that's DWR coated to make it water repellent. If there's something that can always happen whenever you go out in the backcountry, it's condensation inside of your tent. And there's nothing worse when you get caught in a rainstorm and you have to zip up the entire tent. The inside gets condensation all over it, and as that rain is hitting your tent, you're getting misted on and everything gets wet. And when your sleeping bag gets wet, there's nothing worse than it going flat and losing all of the insulative qualities of that sleeping bag or that quilt. Knowing that there's a DWR coating on this could be a major benefit. The zipper on the side of the sleeping bag is also a full-length YKK zipper. You're not going to have to worry about it snagging. You're not going to have to worry about it catching. Another really cool feature about this sleeping bag is a wide foot box. I was surprised. I was expecting for $160 and kind of an unknown company for it just to be kind of a flat sleeping bag without much comfort in the footbox area. But the footbox area is actually widened out, and it's a little boxy, which if you're a side sleeper, you know how valuable that can be. Again, this sleeping bag is brand new. It just came on the market a couple months ago, so there's not a lot of reviews out on it right now. So hopefully tonight, when I go take this thing out on the back deck and sleep in it, I'm going to see just how comfortable the sleeping bag is. Because this is a new sleeping bag and there's not a whole lot to go on, I got this 2 days ago in the mail, and I've decided that tonight I'm going to sleep with it on my back deck. And the reason I'm sleeping with it on my deck and not on the ground is I want to know what it's like when it's a little chilly outside. It's going to be in the low 50s tonight. And the deck, because it's a deck, it's raised up and air can get underneath my tent. There's nothing that's going to keep the bottom of my tent warm, which means there's a better chance for me to get a little chilly inside of the tent. So I really want to see if this sleeping bag lives up to the comfort rating that it says of 50 degrees. I'm anticipating that it will, just from holding the sleeping bag. It's rather robust. Like I said, it's almost 3 pounds, so it's a little on the heavier side of what I'm used to having, but I can tell you from holding it, this thing is quality. Another great feature of the sleeping bag are the loops along the side of the sleeping bag so that you can actually strap it to your sleeping pad. The only thing I don't like about it is that they didn't put one in the middle of the sleeping bag. It's almost like there's one a third of the way down on one side, a third of the way down on the other, and in the foot box, but there's not one in the middle, which is where your body tends to move a lot. So I feel like it would be better if they'd had loops there, but they didn't. So We go on. Another mistake I think they made just by looking at the sleeping bag is that they actually didn't put pad straps in with the sleeping bag. I would say moving forward, that would be a huge plus for the sleeping bag if you could actually put the straps in with the sleeping bag instead of anticipating people will make their own or go buy some other straps to use with their sleeping pad. With all that said, the sleeping bag sells for $159.99. I personally got the extra long, extra wide version, which is 82 inches long and 30 inches wide. So it should be really comfortable to sleep in. And we'll see tonight how it does when I'm side sleeping. Let's head out to the back deck and let's give this thing a try tonight and see what happens. Okay, so I'm out here on the back deck. I had to use a freestanding tent. So I've got my Eureka Midori Solo that I'm gonna be sleeping in tonight. Just gonna give this a try and see how the sleeping bag does. It's already down around 60 degrees right now. It's about 9:30, 9:45 at night, and we're gonna give this thing a try and see how it does. And hopefully we get a really good night's sleep. Hopefully we're gonna get to enjoy this. And in the morning, I'll let you know my thoughts, and I'll let you guys in on just how this thing performs. A couple real quick observations I'll make on this thing is it is lofty. I'll give it that. I mean, this thing is lofted up nice and high. I'm gonna say that's about I'm gonna say it's almost a 5-inch loft down there on that foot box. I mean, that's just huge back there. That's really, really nice. I do know when I was thinking about putting this back in the stuff sack, I found that it was very difficult to get back down in there, so that's a big plus in my mind. This looks like it's gonna be a really, really puffy, nice, comfortable sleeping bag tonight. One real quick observation I made, this sleeping bag really is extremely spacious. I don't like mummy bags typically because they make me feel claustrophobic. I'm not a big fan of being stuck in something, but I'm laying on my side right now and I'm really comfortable, so that's a definite positive. We'll keep going with this thing tonight. We'll see how it does, and hopefully tomorrow I'll give you guys a good report on what I think about this sleeping bag. But as of right now, I'm having a good feeling about it. All right, so it's about 10:30 at night, and I've just kind of been laying in here watching videos and hanging out, and I mean, I'm just gonna shoot straight. This sleeping bag is warm. It's 62 degrees out, and I can't zip it up. If I zip it up, I'm just gonna sweat to death. I have a feeling their comfort rating of 50 is actually pretty accurate, and honestly, I think this thing would be pretty warm down into the lower 40s, maybe even the upper 30s. I mean, tonight it's gonna get down in the low 50s, probably 51, 52 degrees. Here in a couple hours, it should be getting pretty cool. So I'll probably check back with you here in a couple hours and just let you know how it's doing. But as of right now, I'm kind of impressed for a budget sleeping bag. This thing's pretty impressive. It's about 5:20 in the morning. I just woke up. I fell asleep. I was gonna try and get up at midnight. Kind of talk about how this thing did. Honestly, it's comfortable. I never fully zipped it up throughout the night. It got down to 50. Actually, it's about 50 degrees right now, and no problems at all sleeping with this. I'm gonna say this is a pretty cool sleeping bag. I'll give you the pros and cons here in a little bit. So last night I got a chance to sleep in the sleeping bag and test it out, and I'm just gonna say for a budget sleeping bag, this thing is a home run. The fabric, the material is really comfortable. I've got an Outdoor Vitals underquilt, and the fabric on that, if it was a top quilt, I don't know if I would like it. It's almost a little too slick feeling, but the fabric and the nylon that's on this sleeping bag is absolutely incredible. It's very, very comfortable. One of the things I noticed too about the sleeping bag is the inner baffles that they have to keep you warm work fantastically. They seal everything off. I went ahead and zipped the whole thing up one time and got it tightened around my head and around my neck, and honestly, nothing can get into that sleeping bag. And so from that standpoint, that's another big plus for the sleeping bag. It's also very warm, and it got down to 52 degrees last night, and I never zipped the sleeping bag all the way up. I had to leave it a little bit open to allow a little bit of air into it, which for me is a win because that means that the sleeping bag does keep you warm. It may just be a true 15-degree sleeping bag. I definitely like the YKK zipper. I did find it getting caught though as it gets closer to the top where the turn is up towards your neck. I found myself fighting with that a couple times. Not a huge negative. It's probably just something you've got to get used to with a sleeping bag. Typically, I use quilts anyway, so I'm not used to using a zipper up around my head to begin with. But I did find that it would get caught just a little bit as it was coming up. I don't know if that's necessarily a negative, but I would say that that could be frustrating if you're freezing cold and you're trying to get that thing tightened up so that you're not going to freeze in the middle of the night. Another thing I really liked about the sleeping bag was the setup for the Velcro so that you could have everything where you wanted it and have it in good and tight and shored up. Another really cool feature of the Velcro that was on it was a lot of times you have a Velcro piece that goes over the zipper by your head. And that's just so that everything can be in good and tight. Well, this one actually has an extra piece of Velcro on it so you can undo the Velcro and just connect it to itself so that that flap stays open and doesn't affect you while you're trying to get to the zipper, which I really like that. Sometimes I think that that extra flap can be really, really annoying. And the fact that you have the option to get that out of the way, I think is a huge positive. One of the things that I was concerned about was whether or not the sleeping bag was going to slide all over my sleeping pad, and the truth is it didn't. It stayed in place the entire time. I like the idea of having the loops so that you can hook up straps under your sleeping bag to the sleeping pad so that you can hold it in place, but I didn't really find a need for it in the tent last night. It seemed to just hold up fine. So because of that, I was really impressed. Like I said, I was expecting it to slide all over the place, and it didn't. It held in place really nicely. Another real positive of this sleeping bag is the foot box. I loved how wide it was. I could lay on my side inside of that sleeping bag and have plenty of room. I've got an Aegis Max sleeping bag that I take out in the summer a lot, and that sleeping bag, if you try and turn sideways in that, you can barely fit in it. The sleeping bag at the foot box is not really a foot box. It's just a flat area at the end, and a lot of times it makes it difficult to get your feet up. They actually square off the bottom of the sleeping bag so that you can get your feet in there. So it's really comfortable, and if you're a tall guy, you're gonna love this sleeping bag because it does a really good job of allowing you room to move around. And being that I'm a larger guy, the fact that I could turn inside of the sleeping bag sideways really says something about the room inside of this. Another big plus about this sleeping bag is the price. At $159, you are not going to find another down sleeping bag that's rated at 15 degrees with all of the extras that this sleeping bag has at that price. I got on REI's website, and comparable sleeping bags with $650 or higher down was going to run you at the cheapest $40 more than this sleeping bag, and that was by far the cheapest one I could find was $199. This one was $160. The Easthills Outdoors Sleeping Bag weighs in at 2 pounds and 15 ounces. It's not an ultra lightweight bag by any means, but at that price point of $160, you will not find another down sleeping bag like it. The extras are fantastic, the build quality is incredible, and the loft is unreal. It had about a 5 or 6 inch loft, and it was just super, super comfortable, and it was super, super warm. All right, so I needed to come back and reshoot something really quick because I realized something in editing the video that I might have miscommunicated what I was trying to say about the temperature rating on this sleeping bag. If you look right here on the inside of the sleeping bag, it has 3 ratings for the temperature. You've got the comfort rating, which is at 50 degrees. The transition rating, which is at 30 degrees, and the limit, which is at 15 degrees. And like any sleeping bag, the 15 degrees is basically the lowest temperature you can go where you're going to survive. So this isn't something you're going to take into extreme temperatures below freezing. But I will tell you this. I think the comfort rating of 50 degrees is wrong. I think that's too high. After sleeping in this thing, I couldn't zip it up at 50 degrees. I would dare say, at least for me as a warm weather sleeper, I would say the comfort rating on this thing could probably be somewhere near 40, maybe even lower. And the transition, I think, just from my experience in sleeping in this thing, I'm going to say the transition temperature might actually be below 30 as well. So I would say that if you're in freezing temperatures, I'm not going to say sub-freezing very far, but I will say if you're in freezing temperatures, I think the sleeping bag's going to do just fine. So you might want to check this out. I'm going to say you could take this thing out in freezing weather and be just fine. This is a really warm sleeping bag. So now, pardon the interruption, let's get back to the video. A couple other things that came with the sleeping bag that I really appreciated were the stuff sack and actually a storage bag for it. A lot of your more inexpensive sleeping bags don't come with storage bags. And for me personally, I either want to hang up a bag or put it in a storage bag where it's not going to be compressed, where that down doesn't get damaged and it doesn't stay compressed when you finally pull it out when you're in the backcountry. All in all, I was expecting to give this sleeping bag a 3-star or a 4-star out of 5. And I'm gonna be truthful. This is a 5-star sleeping bag for a budget 15-degree down sleeping bag. You're gonna be hard pressed to find anything of this quality, of this build at this price point. It's just not gonna happen. If you're somebody who's looking to get out into some colder weather, this sleeping bag will do a great job for you. And like I said, it doesn't weigh a ton, but it's not ultralight. So you have to decide what it is you want to do. But if you're somebody who's backpacking on a budget, I believe this sleeping bag would be a great one for you to take out in cooler fall weather. So what budget sleeping bags have you found are great bang for your buck? List those below in the comments. I would love to get some input from you guys on deals that you found on great equipment. If you found any value in this video, hit the thumbs up. If you found no value in this video, hit the thumbs down. My feelings won't be hurt and I won't hold it against you. I promise. I'm not that kind of guy. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, then hit the notification bell so that every time one of these videos drops, you find out about it. But until next time, stay strong, hike long, and we'll catch you on the next go-around. Comfort rating for the back sirens. That one's going away and it sounds like there's another one coming, so that's a freaking airliner, it sounds like. Let's do that again.